was being weighed appropriately. That isn't the observation they're making about what happened. There is nothing I see in here about $45 million being spent or charged the wrong way. I see information in here about their examination of cases and their review, just as the Blue Ribbon Commission did, finding that there were as many that were overturned upon appeal in either direction, and that it was an observation that there was not inherent bias in the system, but some inefficiencies in making determinations that by failing to, at the early stage, the first stage review, and right use of evidence, were subsequently overturned. That to me is not, I'm not hearing what you're saying. I'm sorry.
It's exciting that we're going to have more time even to discuss this in the coming months, because with everyone on different pages about what the letter says and whether or not they've read it, I think it's going to be an exciting time for us dealing with this very complicated and very important topic. And because the letter explicitly says that when there's pressure, real or perceived, that is exerted upon first level appeals hearing officers to rule in favor of one side or another, the persons or entities exerting that pressure are interfering with the decision about an individual's rights rather than having the decision made by a merit-staffed MDOL employee. And that goes either way. And I think I think this is just proving the point that we are going to have more work before us on this topic in the coming months, because there's clearly issues that need to be settled about the hearing process and about the question of real or perceived influence over those officers. And we take that very seriously on the employee side and on the employer side, equally as seriously. Representative Harwell, did you have additional comments?
Yeah, a couple. One is the judge that led the, I believe, I got this right, that led the Blue Ribbon Commission when he sat right in that chair over there.
Judge Watson.
Yeah, when he was asked, is this inappropriate? He said it is actually very normal for judges to meet together if there are, for instance, in criminal cases, sentencing guidelines that are different from county to county, that there's discrepancies within the system, that they routinely meet to discuss it. That is the comparison that he gave when he was talking about these three different tiers that were meeting, that there was an inconsistency, and he said he saw he saw it along the same lines as that. And I could be wrong, but I believe, I don't see it here right now, but the fact was that there was $45 million in overpayments. Could you answer me on that?
I'm thinking that it was something that was included in the Blue Ribbon Commission report, but I would have to go back and double check that. But we don't have that copy for you here today.
The other question I have for the committee is, are we interested, it seems to me we probably should be interested, in seeing if we can talk to somebody from the federal DOL to come talk to us about this report in at a future meeting, and possibly, and additionally, of course, from the state DOL, and that's something we can think about for further meetings as we take this up again in a month's time. Yes, Representative Kruger.
And I would just add to that, I definitely would also like to hear if we could invite them to come and talk to us a little bit. I would also like at least staff to talk to the hearing officers, to some of the hearing officers. They've never had a chance to be heard by us anyway, and I would be interested in what they had to say.
Could I
yes.
rewind? The status of...
We have not voted on to move this forward.
Right.
That's correct.
Okay, so the status is still that this was a request pending, which you had held any decision on. So I just want to be clear about OPEGA's role here and what your expectations are for next steps for us.
Well, I mean, we've definitely heard today that people want more time with the letter. So we don't have to take any particular action today. I was just throwing out the ideas that as we move forward, because it seems like there's clearly interest on all sides, that we may want to ask for certain people to come and talk with us. But certainly we want to take more time with the letter in the coming weeks. Director Cross, do you want to say
well,
anything?
I'm thinking
your body language says I was going to say.
Well, you know how I am always trying to make sure that we are sticking with our process and our protocols so we don't make precedent. And while it would maybe be a different situation this time around that warrants stepping aside from that, normally when you're considering a request for a review, you don't hear from like the agency or
Agreed.
that sort of thing. So I just would want some time to think about, make sure that we are being as consistent as possible with our practices in the next phase here while you decide.
Absolutely, and as I did earlier today, if we look at behind tab K, when we talk about considering an OPEGA review, which we're not doing today, we're just putting these ideas out there because there's interest in discussion, that we'll come back to this checklist, because we always want to make sure we're following our own process and our own procedure, and doing that in a way so everybody has faith in what we're doing. That's a key element of our being successful. Yeah, Senator Youngblood.
Thank you. I'd like to ask if we could get another copy of the Blue Ribbon Commission report.
Great.
To read already that I might be able to put my hands on it.
So that's fine, we'll get it to you.
We'll do that, and we'll send it to you electronically, or you can pick up a hard copy from OPEGA in the next week or so.
I'd like a hard copy.
A hard copy for Senator Youngblood, yeah, absolutely. I think it makes sense for us all to review that, and we'll plan to put this on our meeting agenda, not for the 14th, but the 28th. Again, for the first time in months, it won't be on our agenda for the 14th. That'll be a relief to everyone, and we can revisit this topic again on the 28th. Are there any final comments anyone would like to make before we move on? Yes, Representative Cotter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, when I looked at this, and I won't rehash this because we're going to have a lot of time to talk about it.
We are.
But really, the information that I have received, and when I looked at, the 30,000-foot level, it was spun immediately that there were so many decisions against the employers, or whatever. To me, that was irrelevant. What I was concerned with, and hopefully we can have somebody come before us on the 14th that can give us that 30,000-foot level on why someone like the chief executive would want to bring these parties together, and what would what was it, a quest for clarification? Was it to make sure they're on the same sheet of music? So I would like to have more visibility in that area, because I still maintain it is his duty and responsibility to do it. We're jumping ahead on what the motives were, but it's my understanding there are other sources of information that can give us insight into the process and how one side could do it one way and another could do it another way.
Sure, and I want to be careful. You meant the 28th, I think, not the 14th.
Hopefully,
You
28th
said
of March.
Correct. You said the 14th.
Do I get a raise for the 28th of March as well as the 14th?
I hope you'll be here both days.
I certainly will be available, Senator.
Thank you. I want to make sure we're talking about the 20th, and also that we're not talking about having those people come at our next meeting, but rather getting ready at the next meeting to have this conversation about what we would want to move forward with and what stage. Yes, Senator Kate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We all struggled really hard here to try to keep this the one nonpartisan, bipartisan committee in the legislature. I'd just like to say I don't think it's at all helpful when people from outside this committee are suggesting there should be some action taken against the governor, which does nothing but completely attempt to politicize this issue. And it makes all of our jobs that much harder. And it's too bad that it's come to that. Thank you.
Senator Cates, I agree completely, and I'm appreciative that that is not the direction the committee has gone today. And I think, as Representative Kruger explicitly said at the beginning, that any talk of political action at this point is inconsistent with what we're seeing on this issue. So I appreciate you saying that, and I couldn't agree more. I don't see any more hands raised. I think we are moving off of that topic now. I want to appreciate the committee for working through that. And now we will move on to the very important topic, though it is 1:45, of the tax expenditure legislation. Yes.